Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we have a whiskey review of Elijah Craig 18 coming your way. Run the video. All right then, folks, thank you for joining us for another new and exciting episode, as always, here on the Whiskey Cove, where we will be looking at an absolute bastion of the bourbon world, and that is Elijah Craig 18. I was going through some ideas and thinking about different reviews and whiskies that I wanted to review, and I've noticed that we've never done Elijah Craig 18, which is a blasphemy or sacrilege in a way, because it's an excellent bottle of whiskey, but also at the same time polarizing, which I think some of the best reviews come from. So we have this bottle. So what is Elijah Craig 18? So Elijah Craig 18 is a bourbon put out by the Heaven Hill Distillery under the Elijah Craig umbrella. We have Elijah Craig small batch, barrel proof. They have rye now, and a barrel proof rye, and toasted rye, and a toasted bourbon. They do a lot of great stuff. And this is almost one of the flagships, right? It's 18. It has 18 years old. It is 18 years old. So it's considerably more aged than you get with a lot of the other Elijah Craig products. If you remember, the barrel proof Elijah Craig bourbon traditionally was 12 years. That age statement has fallen off now, albeit that some of the barrel proof additions each year will flirt with that number still. But we still don't get close to 18. So ABV and proof on this is a little lower than the barrel proofs, obviously, because it isn't a barrel proof. And this is a little bit of a sticking point for some people when they talk about Elijah Craig 18. They say that it's not very proof forward, or it lacks the ABV. So what is that? So the ABV on this is 45% ABV on 90 proof. So it does sit quite low. I like to think of whiskey as the middle ground is 50% ABV or 100 proof. You get a lot of bourbons that are higher than that, and you get a lot of bourbons that are low. So I would say this is flirting with the lower side, right? 90 proof. So we'll go into this bottle, we'll smell it, we'll taste it, and we'll ask questions. We'll see if it could do with more ABV, or does it drink good for what it is. So I've already poured the whiskey in the glass. It looks very mahogany-esque. It doesn't look too thick, but the whiskey is sticking to the side of the glasses. And as I've had this glass just sitting here, it's just been wafting up in my nose, because I kind of stand a little forward over the whiskey as I'm talking, and I'm just getting loads of cherry notes and wood notes. So let's go in for a proper nose here. This is so cherry forward. I don't know what it is with this bottle. I feel like every time I come back to this, it gets better and better and better. But it's a really nice, sweet caramel cherry note. Not like a bacon cherry, more maraschino, more like sweet and viscous, like when you're pulling a cherry out of a jar of cherries, like the Luxardo cherries. Maybe with the wood and the tannins in there, you could see that it leans maybe more towards like a pledgier cherry note, but that's just all the components of the whiskey coming together. You get a really nice wood presence in there, but it's not like an over-oaked wood presence. It's like true, awesome bourbon age, and it's not drying on the nose. The sweetness from that cherry glaze helps that out too. Not really any spice. I'm not really picking up any other more fundamentals from any spice there, where you think of like baking spices. I am getting a bunch of vanilla there too, maybe like a touch of like a fairground caramel apple. It is very approachable on the nose. I'm not getting any burn. Let's stop talking. Let's go in for a taste. So immediately, as I drink it, I do get more sweetness on the palate. There is a little heat there, just as you start climbing the hill of taste, but the heat does evaporate on your palate quite fast. And of course it does. You know, it's 90 proof. It's not going to be a sustained heat across your palate. What I will say with the oak on this, you do get a little bit more of the tannins on the mouth. But I think what that does, it continues with the finish. Sometimes on lower proof bourbons, the heat, as soon as that goes, the finish can also go too. But because of the age statement, it rolls on and rolls on and rolls on. I'm getting more of like a candy cherry now. If you think of like a Haribo mix and those like gummy cherries in there, it's more of like that maybe the apple and the cherries are coming together, making it feel a little bit more fresh, making it feel a little bit more sweet. Let's go in for another taste here. I would say it's not too caramel heavy, and yes, the tannins help with the finish, and then it's very sweet at the front and the mid palate. It does dry out then towards the back end. That's where the wood really gets a grip of the whiskey. But again, I think you need that for a bourbon at this ABV, because if you didn't have that, then again, you wouldn't have that finish. This is almost a complete bourbon in terms of this age statement and this proof. It's almost like they proofed this up to like 50% ABV or 100 proof, tasted it, and thought, we could do it this way. But then they tried the 90 proof one, and it just drinks probably so much better. What I'm trying to say is this bourbon needs to be at this ABV, because otherwise you're gonna get too much tannin notes, too much proof that are really interrupting the delicate flavors of this whiskey. The vanilla continues to be there, the caramel kind of intertwines with this too. I've always been impressed with the whiskey, if you haven't already guessed that. And I really like this whiskey at this ABV and at this proof point, because I just don't think it'll work at a higher proof point, because it would just have too much wood. On this channel, if you're new to watching our reviews, we do a price from A through F, A representing the best price you can find in whiskey, F being crazily overpriced, and then a score 0 out of 100. So A through F in price, this is a $160 to $200 bottle of whiskey. My rule of thumb is what I try to stay by. Not always possible, because when you see a bottle you really want, maybe you'll pay more. But my philosophy is, what I try to stay with is $10 per year with whiskey. So this is 18 years, $180. That's right in line, but that's still a lot of money. So I'm gonna give this a C. Sometimes this is priced higher than MSRP and what it needs to be, because it's not easily findable for the most part. So I think C, I think that's pretty fair, but you have to remember, 18 years, every single one of those years, the distillery pays tax on the same barrel every year, so it's costing them a little bit. And then score of 100, 86. I love this whiskey. I think as someone who really likes aged bourbons, which maybe goes against the grain for a lot of people out there, folks sometimes won't like to drink bourbon that is over 15 years old. But I think if you do it right, if you have the sweetness up front with the whiskey, some of those nice deep dark cherry notes there, and then as you get towards the finish, you get that dry oakness. I think that if you do it like this bottle does it, then it's unmatched within this kind of category here. Very impressed with Elijah Craig for knocking this out. I have a backup for this bottle because it is fantastic. Yes, the price point is a little bit sticking, and I know I'll have some comments about this review saying that they didn't like it. My advice for you folks at home, only get this bottle if you do like aged bourbons, if you don't mind the tannins on the back end, if you don't mind spending $180, living within that $10 a year. So that's the scores, that's my review on this bottle. I'm very happy that I have it, and I will continue to drink this whiskey that I have in this glass and enjoy it, because it is quite exceptional. As we drink through the world's whiskeys, one glass at a time. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Cheers.